Welcome, everybody. Happy Tuesday. We're going to get started in a minute or two, but as you are coming into the webinar, please introduce yourselves in the chat. Make sure that you've toggled the two to everybody. Otherwise, it's just going to go to me, Kelly, and Ayana. It's going to be a real quick conversation. But please introduce yourselves, say where you're coming from, what institution you're coming from, and let us know how you're doing today. I always like to have an icebreaker question, but I know people hate icebreakers. So I'm trying to figure out if I should force y'all to do the icebreaker. Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah, you got
Um,
it.
we'll make it thematic. Since Thanksgiving is coming up, you have to share one thing that you're thankful for. Ayana, you have to go first. What are you thankful for this season?
Oh, so I think I'm going to say I'm thankful for my family, of course. I'm actually from Philly, so I don't get to see them as often living in Cape Girardeau. So just really thankful and appreciative of them. So, yeah,
Oh, that's a good answer.
thank
You,
you.
you can't steal that one, Kelly. What are you thankful for?
Okay, well, it's just more specific, and I'll
Uh-huh.
say I'm thankful for my daughter. This is her first Thanksgiving, so I feel like that makes it some extra fun there.
Oh, congratulations. I have a 5-year-old daughter, who I too am thankful for, but enjoy the young years, Kelly, because they get sassy real quick.
I can already see it in her, so.
Yeah. I'm gonna take a cop out here and say that I am thankful for the weather because fall is my favorite season. I'm in upstate New York, so Ayana, if you're in Philly, the leaves are changing colors, the sky is blue. It's really, really beautiful right now. Lots of folks coming in saying, I'm thankful for not having to use our previous CRM this year and being able to use Element 451. That was not a plant, Ryan. He did that. I did not pay him to say that. He did that on his own. Thank you, Ryan. Uh, all right. Well, I think we will go ahead and get started. Please continue to introduce yourselves as questions come up throughout the webinar. Feel free to use the chat as well. But welcome to today's session. I'm really excited to host, moderate, co-panel, share with my co-presenters today, and we'll introduce ourselves in a second. But today we've got, I'll say, a powerhouse, a power trio between SEMO, ZeeMee, and Element451. We're going to talk about ways that you can turn data connections into actionable insights and conversions. And we've got a lot of really cool stuff to show you today. But first, let's take a minute and introduce ourselves. Ayana, you're first in the lineup all around today. So continue,
Yes.
please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ayana McCurdy. I am the Assistant Director of Recruitment in the Office of Admissions at Southeast Missouri State University. So I'm excited to be here presenting with everyone. Just a little background about myself. I've been in the Office of Admissions for almost 3 years, which is insane. I am an alum from SEMO. I play basketball there, and I'm excited to continue to work with both Element 451 and ZeeMee to help bring students to my alma mater. So, yeah.
I love that. Kelly, go ahead.
Awesome. Hey everyone. Good morning for my few fellow West Coast people and afternoon for the rest here. My name is Kelly Sullenberger. I am a director of partner success here at ZeeMee. Similar to Ayana, I've been here for almost 3 years, so we may have similar start dates, Ayana. But prior to being at ZeeMee, I worked in higher ed admissions for about 10 years, working at several institutions out here in California where I am based. And super excited to have this conversation today and continue to support our ZeeMee partners.
Well, thank you both for being here. I'm Daniela. I'm VP of Platform Enablement at Element 451. I like to tell folks that that's just a fancy way of saying I have the privilege of working with partners like SEMO and Ayana on finding ways to really optimize Element to really engage students, and to help y'all meet your goals. Three is the magic number today, friends, because I'm hitting my 3-year anniversary at Element in December. So, and there are three of us. So three is a good, 3 years ago, something was happening in the air that brought us all together today. I actually like to share a fun fact. My work anniversary is actually Taylor Swift's birthday. So on December 13th, if there's any Swifties out there, it's a big day all around for us. I've got a higher ed background too. So I spent almost 7 years on campus as part of a marketing and communications team, and then went dark side over to the agency side before I found my home here at Element 451. So today we've got a really nice agenda for y'all and some great examples to walk through. But we're going to start with, this idea about how connecting systems connects to students. We're going to talk about ways to do that, data exchange, why it's beneficial for y'all to think about this. We're going to talk about ways to drive adoption, how to make this easier so that you're streamlining some internal processes on your end, but also creating less friction for your students. Ways to boost engagement. You'll hear from Kelly and Ayana both about what that engagement looks like in ZeeMee. And then perhaps most importantly, tracking the engagement, leveraging insights. We know how important reporting and metrics are to everybody on campus and how to make data-driven decisions, especially at the end of the year. So we'll talk about what insights ZeeMee provides, how that's mapped in Element, and how we're leveraging. And we will save time for Q&A. I do have a few Element colleagues monitoring the chat, so post in Q&A, post your questions, and we will save time at the end to make sure that we get to them. But I'll go ahead and kick us off and talk high level about what this looks like when we talk about connecting systems and how that translates to connecting students. So this slide really shows when Element and ZeeMee talk to each other, our goal is to stop students from slipping through the cracks. So you've got two systems who are syncing in real time, and it means you're wiring together a more holistic student journey so that nothing gets lost. And our goal really is that nothing, right? So data isn't sitting around waiting for somebody who's maybe, needs that extra Diet Coke, as I got my Diet Coke here, some extra caffeine to import that file or to clean up that data. So we use APIs, we use secure file servers, and shared data automations that pushes updates instantly so that the staff can see what that latest action that student has taken, and it's reflected inside of Element. So some of these actions include, did the student update their profile? Did they fill out a new application? Did they start but not complete an application, right? Did they change their preference for which campus or which academic program they're interested in? So those are some examples that you'll see gathering the data and then pushing into Element. And what it means is that when that data shows up, seamlessly in one system to another, it means that teams like Ionis can respond quicker. And we all know that in this economy, attention is really the commodity that we're fighting for here. So getting that attention and reaching out to those students at the right time makes a big difference. So the integration handles all of that boring stuff, all of that data that transfers between people. And what we do is when that student engages on ZeeMee, we can trigger workflows, automations, communications, nudges, so that those students aren't falling through the cracks. I'm going to let Kelly and Ayana talk a little bit about, the ZeeMee side of things, but I always like to hit home here that yes, we're streamlining processes and yes, you're connecting with students, but really the magic is when you get this holistic view of a student. So you don't have to go to 3 different systems to see what were they talking about or how engaged were they in the ZeeMee community or what stage of their application are they on or have they filled out their FAFSA. The real benefit of syncing these systems and these data is that you can share that data with your teams, tailor your communications, and really make sure that you've got the power now to watch how students are moving, and using those behaviors to take those actions and create those conversions. Anything you guys want to add here? Kelly, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Daniela. I loved what you said in particular about just the state of the world and higher ed that we are in right now and the need to take those quick actions, that is so imperative. And I think also our industry is being called to personalize this process way more than we ever were expected to before. And so, real quick, I want to share for those who maybe aren't as familiar with ZeeMee, a little bit about what kind of data we are pushing into Element 451 and what we're providing that insight for with our partners, because ZeeMee really does tap into that more personalized space where we are providing behavioral data about the students that you are already recruiting and engaging with through every single stage of the funnel, from as early as trying to get them to apply to making sure they show up for orientation. We are looking at how they are behaving inside your ZeeMee community to help inform their interests and revealing their authentic interest into your institution, and kind of what's going behind the scenes, how we're gauging their enthusiasm to help indicate those yield predictors, potential melts, and all those things to help with the team. So we'll provide some, specific examples, but just wanted to share some of that high level data of what kind of things we're pumping through to create that more holistic view of the student.
Yeah, and I'll just make a plug here for the SEMO team and Ayana. Personalization has been really key to some of the success that you all have seen, and really taking it to the next level. So a nice plug there. Well, let's talk about what this looks like and what you can personalize in Element in ZeeMee. What you'll see on the far, it's my left, your right, maybe, under the Element header banner here, are some examples of some of the filters and some of the data that we capture, right? So we've got an application field here, we've got profile types, we've got citizenship status. But basically what we're trying to show here is that you can slice and dice students by behaviors, by actions. I know Ayana's going to talk a little bit about their custom ZeeMee score and their engagement score that they use. But these filters really show you where the momentum is building and where things are breaking down. And because we've got that data syncing in real time, you don't have to chase some of this data and some of this information down. So we'll talk a little bit about what you can trigger off, or what automations you can set up later about off of these filters, but some ideas here. We've got some targeted nudges based on the ZeeMee engagement. You can trigger advisor outreach when an undecided student comes in. You can launch yield sequences. You can invite students to events. So really thinking about that conversion and where you want students to move further into your funnel. And then looking at melt prevention, right? So as soon as engagement drops, how are you going to re-engage those students? And Ayana, I'll let you talk a little bit here about maybe some of those filters that you use, some of those workflows that you've put into place.
Yeah, so definitely, as Daniela mentioned, a lot of those labels and filters that you can create in Element 451, we've been able to utilize that to just engage with students. And then with the ZeeMee portion, we've been able to just increase the engagement and personalization. So at SEMO, we're really trying to make it more personal, leave lasting, impactful impressions on students. So that when they leave, or if after they interact with us, they remember something that was a great experience from someone from SEMO. So whether that be in person at events or even through communications, is something that we're really honing in on. And then the example, as you see in the middle with the cell phone under the SEMO header, you'll just see there's a message inviting students to come to join ZeeMee for a live event. So in ZeeMee, you can have live events where you can just connect with students. It's really built to, just increase the engagement of students. And I've noticed just communicating with a lot of students that there's a lot of students who want to build connections and build a community. And for us, that's really good that we do have a partnership with ZeeMee as well and Element, is because we're able to kind of bridge those two gaps together and meet students where they are. So just being able to use those filters, like maybe it's an admitted student who is planning to attend an event. Hey, come join ZeeMee. We have a live event that's going to happen where we want to connect with you. Or maybe there's students who are in ZeeMee that we can look up in Element 451 and just connect with them in different ways based off of their interests, based off of their stages through the funnel. So if they have their SE key activated, that's what we call their student account. If they are already committed to SEMO, we can get that information sooner and easier with both platforms. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll just add, I think ZeeMee really has just extra visibility among this population that you're trying to recruit. Now, students on ZeeMee open the app on average 13 times a day. And I know from sitting on the higher ed side, and all those who are in the room can say, if you could count on them to open that many emails a day, you would feel so lucky. And that's the platform you have with ZeeMee. So on the far right, you can see this example of SEMO has this apply now button. So we have these tools integrated within the ZeeMee community where students are there, they're participating in these live events. For them, they're just making friends and enjoying it, but we also know their final stage. And so we're triggering reminders for their next steps throughout that process too, to help support SEMO with moving them, through the funnel.
I love that. One of the things that's standing out to me, and when we were building this slide deck here, the personalization tokens that you're seeing in Ayana's message here in the middle. We love to see personalization. We love to see that link. That's also data that's being brought in seamlessly. So making sure that you're personalizing at scale, that you can send out these messages. One of the things we use at Element is our AI. We have built-in AI workflows and a built-in campaign writer. So Ayana can ask our AI, hey, we want to send a message to this student who's interested in this program, and what's the best time to send it out? And the platform knows, can surface those students, can say based on previous responses when they opened the email. So really kind of piggybacking on that engagement that they're used to seeing in ZeeMee, we can really extend that into Element too. And that's really where those behaviors become signals, right? And that's the data that the SEMO team looks at and can move forward to make smarter communication and to drive those conversion numbers higher. So, Ayana, this is going to be a conversation between me and you here, because what y'all are looking at here are some of the super impressive segments that Ayana and her team have built inside their Element instance. And actually, I'm going to have you walk us through this before I jump into anything. Tell us how you're building these segments, what the strategy
Yeah.
is behind them, what you're using.
Yeah, so for example, the first segment, which is at the top, it says Fall 25 ZeeMee high engaged but undecided. So we can see in the ZeeMee platform students who are high engaging, meaning they're like open our chats, they're responding to messages, they're liking things, they're viewing things that we're posting. And then I also use the application, all properties, which deals with our applications and students who are currently accepted into SEMO. So utilizing that where while they are high engaging, they might still have the undecided status in ZeeMee. So utilizing that to connect and send a task, which you can create tasks in Element 451. So I use that a lot and I use it for the admission counselor team. So basically I use that segment to trigger a task, which is through a workflow, to have the admission counselors do intentional outreach with those students who are high engaging with us within ZeeMee, but they haven't necessarily committed fully. So that's the example for the first one. And then, of course, the second one, you'll see there, it has the ZeeMee Fall 25-26 SE key activation. So this is a little on the opposite end. So seeing that in our Element 451 system that these students don't have an SE key activated yet. So now with this segment, I've used this to then create a bulk message in ZeeMee. So in ZeeMee, you can do both messages and send communications. So I use that segment. These are all of the students who don't have an SE key activated, which is their student account, but they are on ZeeMee. So then utilizing that and taking that to an advantage of, okay, let's go into ZeeMee and kind of connect with these students if they're not answering our phone calls or if they haven't opened an email. Let's try to reach them that way. So I wanted to put two examples, one from one side and one from the other, just to show how you can use the data in both ways. And it's been definitely beneficial for us to utilize both. So yeah.
I love both of these examples, and I love them too. Not only are we impressed by all of the filters that you're using and how you're sort of thinking about segmenting these audiences, but these are calculated segments, which is sort of Element's fancy term of saying they're active. So anytime a student meets these conditions, they join this segment, and that goes back to sort of that behavior, that real-time data sync. You don't have to wait around. You don't have to take any action. They jump into this audience, they become a part of this segment, and then based on that behavior, there are actions, there's tasks being created, there's follow-up that's happening, and it really allows your team to be more dynamic when it comes to measuring and engaging with these students. All right. Kelly, tell us what you got going on here and show us how this works in ZeeMee.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually going to pass it quick over to Ayana and we'll work a little backwards here. And Ayana, if you want to start on the right side of the screen with this bulk message and explain to everyone what you've done, how you've utilized it, and the kind of responses you've gotten to track engagement.
Yeah. So in ZeeMee, we have bulk messages, which is basically you can send direct messages to students, kind of like mass text, but it's in the ZeeMee platform. So to them, it just looks like a direct message in ZeeMee. So we currently have ours turned on, and right now I have it automated where as a student enters our ZeeMee community on ZeeMee, of course, they will get this message. So I don't know if you guys want me to read it. It's pretty big, so you guys can see it on your own, but it's basically just welcoming the students to the community. Of course, doing the personalization, having their name, also including, that the college search process is not easy. Like we've been in your footsteps, putting that touch point in there to make it a little bit more personalized. And then I am going to mention Jeremy Tiers. He talked about what questions, and I follow him a little bit, and he mentioned, asking students questions that will get them to talk. Because sometimes the generation, they want to text and stuff. They don't really have much to say, but we have to ask them the right questions to get them to talk to us. So I will highlight the last question at the bottom, which says, "What's one thing that you are hoping to find in a college?" And I've noticed just with this one question every day in ZeeMee, I have between 5 to 25 messages I have to respond to because so many students are answering that question. A lot of them are talking about they want a community, they want a sense of belonging, all of those types of things that they're looking for. I've noticed is really trending for these students. And, of course, we do phone calls and things, those are important too. But sometimes we don't get all of that out of the students to connect and build those connections with them. So this is just showing an example of well, we can use ZeeMee as a platform as well, in addition to the information we're getting from Element to kind of personalize and engage with them even more at another level that you couldn't before. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've loved seeing all those responses you've gotten, Ayana. It's been really great to see, and you're creating a master class with those questions and getting those responses back. And yeah, just to add some additional color here, yeah, the whole goal, of course, again, is to just create a more engaging process inside Element and inside the ZeeMee community and knowing everything that the student is doing. So to provide a visual, and these are things that Ayana and the SEMO team can pull and see what different triggers, of course, cause a student to commit, cause it to act the students to actually show up. And that's something we track inside ZeeMee as well. And we have this visual here to showcase for SEMO's community last year of how students progressed the funnel, and on the left side representing when they were inside the ZeeMee community versus the right side of the funnel representing if they were not inside the ZeeMee community. So that final fourth bar at the bottom showcases that yield rate of 25% when students were inside the ZeeMee community. So when I think about Ayana and the team using Element 451, going in and looking at the students' profiles, seeing if they've come to campus, seeing if they've registered to talk to their counselor, seeing if they're inside the ZeeMee community. We all know admissions is one big puzzle, and we're looking for all the pieces to fall into place. And having that data integration and showing the ZeeMee community as part of that puzzle allows for the counselors to feel empowered to get the students to join the community as well.
Love this and love seeing the engagement question. Maybe it's a little long message, but it's working if you're getting responses, Ayana, and then you're seeing it in the conversion rates too. So this is a nice textbook case from beginning to end here on what that looks like. We're gonna pull back the curtain and kind of dig further into what this looks like in the platforms. So this is actually exactly how ZeeMee Insights get written into Element 451, and I love that SEMO has created what we call like a custom card here. So what you're seeing here is that data flow from Lila, a student, a real student, what that looks like in ZeeMee and what that looks like in Element 451. So what's nice about this is it's one-to-one, right? So there's no duplicates, there's no overlays, there's no mystery fields. Like you know what it is in ZeeMee, you know what it is in Element. We're speaking the same language. It's customizable. So not only does the SEMO team have a nice custom card that they can see all the ZeeMee information in one spot, but there are custom fields on this card too. So ZeeMee accepted in communities isn't, believe it or not a standard field that Element provides, but there are unlimited custom fields that you can have within Element, so your team can really customize this to meet your needs and to really look at what you need to look at. And once that data is in there, we really treat it like any other piece of data. So you can segment, you can trigger, you can create a task, an alert, you can create an AI-powered message using one of our agents, or we'll talk about our proactive messaging in a minute here. Anything that's on that student profile is data that is usable within the system. And a lot of times you don't have to wait for that human to act on it. I like Ayana's strategy about, let's ask that question. If we know the answer to that certain question, who's getting the answer to that when they say what you're looking for is community? How do you automate that? And how can you tie that all together when it comes to reporting? So really thinking about when the engagement data enters Element, it becomes actionable. And this is really important because a lot of times people will say, I want all the data in there. If you're not communicating on it, if you're not segmenting on it, and if you're not reporting on it, I often tell folks, do not bring it in. It's going to clutter what you need it to do, and it's not going to mean anything in about 3 months. So remember the communication, the segmenting, and reporting, and then you can really tie that to conversion and see how that's driving your numbers. Anything you guys want to add here?
I think you
No,
nailed
I
it,
nailed it
Hannah.
all. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got all the talking points in. Yeah. We'll keep going a little bit deeper here. And what you're seeing on this slide is something Ayana's very familiar with, but this is a sample of a profile within Element 451. And I want to talk about just a couple of this is not a real profile. I'm not sharing real student data. Amber's actually a member of the Element 451 team. If she's on today, Amber, we're using your training profile in our sandbox. But a couple of things that I do want to point out on this profile. So these beautiful colored stickers here are what we call labels, and labels are your high-level quick read indicators of the student type that you're looking at right here. So you'll see we've got a few for completed FAFSA, or maybe they're interested in that entrepreneurship pathway. Student success, you could use a ZeeMee label create a ZeeMee label and use that as well. But labels really help your teams read the room before they're clicking on anything. Is this the right profile, right? Is this what I'm looking at? And they act like, think of them as like visual post-it notes. So notes that you want to put on here. This is also a custom profile template. So you can see that we're not going to force you to stick to a rigid template here. You can create tailored sections. You can create your profile for ZeeMee engagement. We've got our tasks here to follow up for ZeeMee outreach. We've got our notes here and follow up that you want students to look at and know what your team has been talking to students about, what they've been engaged in. On the far side here is one of our internal Bolt staff agents, one of our AI agents at work. So I asked the agent to summarize a contact, and what it does is it accesses all that data that's on Amber's profile and provides a quick summary. This is great for your follow-up tasks, Ayana. Okay, we've got to reach out to somebody. Well, what do I need to know about Amber? Let's go in and ask that agent for a quick contact summary of that and what's the important things that we need to know about Amber and how to better engage with them. I mentioned Ayana and SEMO's ZeeMee custom card, but any custom fields, any profiles that you want, you can add to this too. So you can create custom cards and have it so that everybody who has a ZeeMee label or who is from the ZeeMee lead source, when that team comes in, they're seeing the same profile for that student, and that ZeeMee information is up at the top. And we see this for a lot of like athletic recruiters. So really thinking beyond, what you can use these custom cards and these profiles for allows you to think about the less time that your staff needs to be tracking down the right profiles and the right data that's accessible to them. Continuing on that too, you do have permissions and visibility groups. So Ayana can basically lock down who can see what, which is really nice, especially in this day and age when we're dealing with real student data and real student information. So if you've got student workers in your CRM platform, you can lock down that information so that they're not seeing certain information. You can also make some information more accessible. So if you want to have a conversation about financial aid or what they saw, how engaged they were in the ZeeMee community, you can bring that in, surface that information on the profile as well. So all of this is to say, this is the difference between we have the data and we can act on the data, right? So a couple of different ways you can act on it. That contact summary before you meet, using data to create that task for that team to follow up, creating custom views and permissions for folks so that they can actually see the insights and the data that they need and that they can take the actions that they need on that engagement. So you're really messaging the student at the right time with the right message. All right, moving on here, a couple of other things. This is another screenshot that Ayana is super familiar with, but this is what a workflow looks like in Element. So when Ayana was talking about, okay, she's got a workflow that sets up a task that has her team follow up, this is really our foundational automation. So we always start with that trigger, and that's what that audience looks like. So those beautiful segments, those active segments that Ayana was building, that becomes your audience, right? And then you can set what we call conditions or variations of what you want to happen. So on some of Ayana's workflows, it's have they taken action? Do they have that high engagement? Are they undecided? And what happens when the students meet those conditions? In this particular example, we're sending some communications here, right? You can create tasks. You can look at dropping those students out of that workflow or receiving communications. So a lot of times we see the call to action as signing up for an event or completing an application. You don't want to keep sending them that same message. Speaking of personalization and all that work that Kelly and the ZeeMee team have been doing, if they have completed or started an application, so drop them out of the workflow, put them into the next workflow or the next message communication that you get so that you're really personalizing, not just using those tokens, but personalizing based on behaviors that these students are taking. And while we're on communication, you can see the sort of scrolling sidebar here. What you're looking at there is our campaign copywriter agent. So another Bolt agent that we offer here. I prompted the agent to say, I want to nurture campaign for ZeeMee, highly engaged, undecided students. Our campaign copywriter creates an outline, asks if you're okay with that outline, any tweaks that you want to have. I told it to go ahead and it creates all the email messages for you. It builds the emails, and then it also creates this workflow so that all you have to do is attach that audience segment, review those communications, edit those communications to see if you want to make any edits. But we're really talking about moving at the speed of light here, without losing the personalization that has been so important to these students from the beginning of their journey to the end of their journey, or maybe the beginning of their college search journey and the beginning of their college enrollment journey. Lots of journeys. So really thinking about, it's the moment where this data, we're actually putting the data into action and using that to drive engagement into Element 451. Ayana, any particular, I know you're using the task creation like feature a lot. Any particular something that's surprising or has been super useful for your team in Element when you're seeing some of this engagement, or anything that you'd like, in particular about this?
Definitely say, as a supervisor, and I actually manage 7 admission counselors. So the tasks have been definitely helpful, just to like, even in the insights that feature that's in Element, being able to see like activity, the things that the counselors are doing, and then their interactions and proactive outreach that they're doing for the student population that we're recruiting for. And definitely just those communications through ZeeMee. And those connections that we're making, it's just, I really enjoy both of them because it just helps us meet the students where they are. And that's the biggest thing for me. What works for them, because it's about them, it's about us supporting them, and being able to, of course, have them enrolling into our university, but just using the task in that way, using it for that outreach and specific connections. Because again, we want to personalize things. So that's just the biggest thing, is how can we personalize? Sorry, my earbuds is coming out. How can we personalize connections and conversations with students that's just not so as broad as what maybe our marketing department just sends out to students, but really building that connection piece, and all of those active and ongoing communications, all of those segments where they're constantly updating has been so helpful for us, because we don't have to keep pulling things. We can just use the segment and update one thing, and it just gives us all the data we need. So definitely enjoy that piece of it. So yeah.
I love that. We would be remiss. So these are the internal agents that you're kind of seeing now, but there is an honorary team member on the SEMO team. Her name is Sadie, and she is an external student-facing AI agent. I see you clapping, Ayana. We are big fans of Sadie. Actually, maybe you talk a little bit about her, and then we can dive into the numbers here.
Yeah, so Sadie is basically our AI chatbot that connects with students. It's definitely helped us internally with a lot of the questions that maybe it takes so much time because we don't have all the people. Of course, recruiting and higher ed, there's so many students in your funnel. There's so many names that you buy, all of those things. And Sadie is basically like another admission counselor who's helping us when we can't. So definitely appreciate that AI piece that we have. So yeah, I'll just say that briefly. Sadie's like another counselor for us that supports students and families and parents and can help answer questions, all of those things. And then I think Cody's on here as well. I saw her commenting. Shout out to her because she helped build Sadie. So I want to give a big shout out to Cody Ritchie on our team who helped make Sadie a thing. So yes.
I love this. So what you're actually seeing are some of exactly what Ayana is talking about, putting Sadie to work. And Sadie is one of many AI agents. So I know you all have an admissions advisor agent, you have a financial advisor agent, but Sadie is sort of the default agent that takes care of a lot of these questions. And I just pulled some stats from how hard Sadie's been working. She deserves a raise. I don't know how much you're paying her, but I feel like she needs some additional, a year-end bonus here. The top chart is just what Sadie and some of those other agents have done in the last month. So from October 18th to November 16th, over almost 300,000 minutes, right, have been worked by these agents. 48,000 human minutes saved, which is just crazy. What's crazy about the number of conversations here, 379 after hours conversations. So Sadie is 24 24/7. These agents are 24/7. You don't have to wait for Ayana's team to be in the office on the back end answering some of these questions. They can answer questions and get students the information they need after hours, which is fantastic. I'll call out the knowledge gap here in a second, but we do track when the agents say, oh, I don't know the answer to that, so that you can go in and you can fix those or give your agents more knowledge so that they're able to answer those questions moving forward. And then I love this one, this conversations hand it off. So you do have a handoff within Element. Maybe they're talking about some really specific financial aid issue. Maybe they've said that they are hungry or they are housing insecure. And there are some things that you want that human intervention, you need that human intervention for. Maybe they're stuck, on part of the application that we can't really dive into. So there is an opportunity to get that human in the loop and to have those conversations handled by humans. The bottom graph here is the work that Sadie and her team have been doing in the last year. So taking a look at October 1st, 2024 to November 2025, and just seeing exponentially the number of the impact that these agents have had here. So, almost 300,000 minutes saved. We've got a partner who's very good at converting the minutes into episodes of television shows, and one of the analogies he used was the Game of Thrones like series. And I don't know how long this is, but I'm going to go ahead and say this has got to be like the entire Game of Thrones series. Is how many hours and minutes that this team has saved for you. I do want to call out, oh, I got a nice trigger finger there. I do want to call out just the work that the team has been doing. And maybe this is Cody and Claire out there too, giving shout outs in the chat. But that knowledge gap going from 4,600 pieces of knowledge to 300 pieces of knowledge. That team is doing some great work cleaning up and making sure that students are getting the information that they need, noticing when those agents can't answer the questions, giving it the information, really iterating. This is a living, breathing thing. So the more information you're feeding these agents, the better they're able to answer those student questions. So just some impressive work here from the team, from the human team and from our AI team. And I also want to show just what this looks like on the back end too. So you'll see when you go to SEMO's admissions page and you click on the little chat icon, you can interact with Avery, Penny, Colin, depending on which agent you want to ask, what questions you have about those agents. Maybe you'll be lucky enough to get Sadie, what that looks like for her. But just a nice example of some of the ways that those agents can interact with those students and engage with those students.
That's awesome. Sadie, I feel like she's a friend now.
She is. She's a friend to all.
She is a friend to all. And extra kudos again to that change in the knowledge gap is super impressive. So great job, SEMO team, to utilize that. Real quick, wanted to share a little bit about how ZeeMee is helping support this space utilizing AI with our tool called RISE, which stands for Recruitment Intelligence for Strategic Enrollment. And we like to say that this gives your counselor team AI superpowers. So the quick of it all is that we take all of the data inside Element451 and inside ZeeMee and synthesize it all, looking at historic data as well, to create predictability as well as actions for your team. So not just sharing the likeliness of a student to yield, retain, melt, all of those important metrics, but telling your team how to take action, the so what of it all. So it could even be something as RISE builds a list of all the students who recently chatted with Sadie about questions about registering for classes and are inside your ZeeMee community at the same time. So maybe your counselors are being triggered to reach out to them through a direct message on ZeeMee to chat about, upcoming academic fairs or something of that nature. So RISE just kind of gives your team, it's a great tool, especially from a leadership perspective, to provide your admission counselors with more strategy without necessarily having to train them to create that strategy themselves.
I love that. Thank you. And I know we're coming up to our Q&A session time. We've got some great questions that are coming in, so I will pull this slide up as we talk about it. But let's go ahead. Let's dive in. You guys ready for some of these questions? Yeah. Okay. Has anyone tried ZeeMee with graduate level students? And Kelly, I think that one goes to you.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, actually, just in this past year, we have more than doubled the amount of graduate communities we have inside the ZeeMee platform. We're certainly getting to a point in the technology space where students are coming back around to ZeeMee. We've seen them use it when they were doing their undergraduate search and now using it at the graduate level. So we can essentially replicate, but more importantly, customize because the graduate search experience is very different than the undergraduate search experience, but they still want community, they still want to feel connected. So we're able to create that custom space and also have, of course, that important data integration to Element 451 there.
I love that. Okay, I think I've got one for you, Ayana, or perhaps Cody, if she's in because this is a Sadie question. How engaged are the students with the AI agent? Do they stay on the line and respond to the agent's questions? What is the volume of hangups? Do you happen to know this, Ayana?
That is definitely a Cody question.
Yeah.
Cody is our data girl. All the data and information about AI and Sadie is Cody. Up there, Cody. There she is.
I was going to say, Cody can jump in, but there are a few things that I do want to call out with this question. It's not on the chart that I showed here, but one of the things we do track is the number of times it takes to complete or to close out a conversation. So you can look and you can see, oh, the average conversations, the average back and forth was one or two. So you have a sense of how long it takes for that agent to close out that conversation. There's also the handoffs that are trackable too that are in there. So you can track and you can see, okay, in a month we had 56 out of 11,000 that required human intervention. So that goes to show majority of those conversations are being handled by that agent and don't require sort of human intervention there as well. And then what is Cody saying in the chat there? Is she adding anything to this? Okay.
You guys unmuted me, so here I am.
Oh, there you go. Bring it,
Hi,
Cody.
Cody.
Yeah, so we love Sadie. She is our girl. But for the most part, she is our chatbot. So we don't use her as much for like the calls and whatnot. We use the specialized ones. So like Avery, who does undergrad admissions for new first-time students, is usually the one who does our calls. But anyway, to answer the question, yes, students usually get good responses with Sadie. We do like to spot check her once in a while, especially when we notice that AI at large, like OpenAI, maybe had a struggle over the weekend or overnight. We like to check and make sure she didn't hallucinate or say anything. But usually she's pretty spot on. We're very thrilled with her. Our students are very happy with her, especially overnight and on the weekends. We have been using the Bolt agents for calls, and we've seen great success with some of our events, especially. We used it initially to get registrations for some of our events, and students interacted with her, and we had multiple students go through that process and register for our events from those phone calls. So we love it.
Love that. While you're still on the line, I feel like this is like first time caller, long time listener. Cody, there is another question in here. Can you share how long Sadie took to create and how it helped your team operate more efficiently since the
Oh yeah, for sure. So when we initially created Sadie, we did it at Element, actually the first engage that I was at. So Linnell and I were putting it together. We started on it. She added some of the knowledge. I added a little bit of it afterwards. But we did it. I mean, we really did it in like a day. And then Jasmine from our marketing team created she has a cartoon like avatar. So she actually created that while we were at Element. We literally did it all at Engage. And then after that, I spent some time adding more knowledge and then cleaning up our knowledge after a while because we did jump on it really, really soon. And so we put maybe a little more in than we needed. We didn't have all the tools to do the categorizing initially. So I spent a couple of days this summer, I think 3 days, cleaning it up, making sure that it was more accurate. And from the time that I did that, that was when we started seeing the gaps reduce drastically. So we've been very happy with that.
Love that. It's come a long way since your first engage, Cody. I just think now, so now we have AI that build the agents and the jobs for us. So literal minutes that you can get, you can stand these agents up, and kind of cool to see that progression, Cody, from building the original Sadie and what Avery and some of those other agents look like now. That's very cool.
Yes, it's awesome. And we have to give a big shout out to our marketing team because they did all the background work to make our agents look beautiful. I just mess with the knowledge base, but they made them awesome and gave them all their instructions, and they're fantastic. Go Claire.
Ah, love that. Thank you. All right, we've got another question in here. How has real-time ZeeMee data changed your counselor's outreach strategy and daily work with the use of Element 451?
Oh, that's a great question. So definitely, as I mentioned, all of those engagement levels, stages that the students are saying that they are within ZeeMee, we're using that to, build segments, do intentional outreach, and then also with those workflows where we have to turn them on for, a student says maybe they're committed to SEMO. Sometimes they say that in ZeeMee, but then I go into Element and they don't have an application. So that's a touch point opportunity. Hey, I see in ZeeMee you said that you're planning to come to SEMO, but we don't have an application. And that's a connection piece. So just utilizing those specific things, even within ZeeMee itself, if there's a student who has a specific major that connects to an admission counselor, we have an admission counselor. Her name is Kennedy Hanner, and she majored in it was like mass communications and public relations. So there was like 14 students in ZeeMee who had that same interest. So kind of using those things to personalize those connections where it's not just, hey, you're admitted, I'm your admission counselor, but I actually have a connection. I have experience at the same university you're looking for, with the same major to build that connection. And I can give you my own testimonial about what the program was like, those professors, especially if they're still there. So we've been able to utilize that as well. Even there's some students, maybe they're from Pennsylvania. I send them messages. How in the world did you hear about SEMO in Missouri? So just using those different data points, and it's really just a puzzle piece to figure out what's going to work for you. There's some stuff that works with that personalization touch points, and there's some stuff you just try and you start again if it doesn't. So yeah.
That's great. Actually, there's a kind of a follow-up question, a nice segue question that came in while you were talking about that. But which ZeeMee engagement behaviors tend to be the strongest indicators of student intent or likelihood to yield? Do you know off the top of your head? Yeah.
So for me, and Kelly can kind of speak on that too, because she sees the funnel on her end. But for me, usually students who participate in the live events
Oh,
within the platform on ZeeMee, especially if I see they've attended every single one and have participated or commented, they're most likely so with us. So really just trying to engage in that instance is really the main thing. And then also just that commit factor of them saying that they're committed to SEMO. Because correct me if I'm wrong, Kelly, they actually have to just click the button to say that they are committing to SEMO, or whatever university that they're interested in. So that's something that they're acting on. It's just not automated, as far as I know, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, Ayana, that's always one of my favorite data points. So when I was on the college side, we use that one a bunch. Yeah. So for those unfamiliar, we have a going indicator on the ZeeMee platform, and students can select one institution that they are going to. It has nothing to do with the data, so we're chatting data integration, but it does not necessarily actually mean that they're committed. So every spring we do a deep dive of looking at the students who have said that they're going to SEMO or whatever institution we're working with, but haven't made it official and done those next steps. The other one piece of data that I always like to touch base on, especially for a school like SEMO, who doesn't necessarily have that traditional enrollment deposit. One of the other things we pushed back that was included on that key card thing that you had created was whether or not they had taken the roommate quiz. It's a fun, informal quiz inside the ZeeMee platform, and students, when they're admitted to SEMO, can take that and filter off of SEMO students to find students that could be a good pair. That's a really powerful tool come yield season for a school like SEMO who utilizes things like housing to track that commitment level, because we can look at students who are actively searching for roommates inside the platform but aren't yet making it official on the school's end. So that's another really, I think, informative and helpful data point.
Yeah, that's a great. Both of those are great data and data that you can bring in with a custom field. So actionable insights here. Uh, Another question for you. I love this question. What has been the biggest success SEMO has achieved through this integration of ZeeMee and Element 451? And the answer can be, Ayana, making your job easier. I will accept that answer.
Um, I'm not going to say that, but it does help a lot. Like I said earlier, definitely just meeting students where they are and having the tools and resources that we have with both ZeeMee and Element 451 has been just a game changer for us. We still do like telecounseling and things. Sometimes those don't go as well, but having both resources to be able to, you know, figure out, okay, this week we're going to focus on FAFSA. Let's look at the students who don't have one completed. Let's see, are they in ZeeMee? Let's see what funnel stage are they in? Do they have their SC key activated? Just using a lot of the data just to figure out what is it that we want to target in this point in time. And definitely being able to use both has helped. It's helped me make decisions to lead the admission counselor team on, okay, this is what we're focusing on this week. This is a great opportunity, or oh, here's a segment that we can use for outreach and personalization. So just being able to use both of those has really helped in the decision-making process for our team to do active outreach, to connect with students in ways that we couldn't connect before. So yeah, I
I
think
love
that's a
that.
success. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Kelly, anything you want to add? Have you seen some successes for SEMO too, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely connected. And every single year, we're seeing more and more students join the community. And of course, that's the very first thing, especially in fall right now, that Ayana and I talk about all the time. It's just getting students to show up. So we've seen a huge increase every year of students just coming to the platform. And I have to take the time to give Ayana and her team some kudos here too, because they have done a fabulous job intentionally engaging with the students. I mean, back to one of those first slides about the live events, using the segments and element to text the students about the live event happening. She creates some really phenomenal ideas that are engaging and fun and goofy and allow students to just feel informally connected to SEMO in the most perfect way. So I have to just give her the kudos of how she's really transformed the community, utilizing the data to really power some of the decisions, and intentionality of reaching out to the students too.
I love that. Okay, I think we've got time for one more question and then we'll wrap it up here. But this one is for Ayana. For someone exploring the ZeeMee and Element 451 partnership, what should they keep in mind when evaluating how the platforms complement each other?
yeah, so I would definitely say just, of course, connecting with both platforms and seeing, what's going to work for you and your institution, and what goals do you have for your institution, basically, and also utilizing and realizing there's a lot of pieces to both platforms, and just figuring out what is it that's going to work for you. Also keeping an open mind of like, you have those segments, you have those things that are in ZeeMee's platform, and really just understanding the concept of all of it just to meet the one goal, which is to enroll the students. So I would definitely say that would be something to just keep in mind. And then also, having a support system at your institution is important too. Having the buy-in is really key. It took a while for me to get some on board for ZeeMee, but hey, we have it, we're here and we're doing it. So that support system is really important too, to kind of help make both utilization of both platforms a success. Is the integration piece, and especially if your institution doesn't have ZeeMee or Element, just trying to get them on board to help and make it seamless for everybody. So yeah, that would be the biggest thing.
Yeah, I love that. I would add, Element 451 is an open API. So to your integration pieces, like having an open system that can ingest and export the data that has been so meaningful for us, I think that is one piece that I would absolutely echo. And leadership buy-in, shout out to all those leaders. I don't know if Linnell is on this webinar, but Linnell has been crucial to advocating for a lot of your team, a lot of the admissions team at SEMO. So shout out to the leaders who get it and who want to support their team for that buy-in too. Kelly, anything on your end?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I think the only thing that I'll just share is this is a very like customizable space.
Mm.
I think similar with Element 451, you can't break your ZeeMee community. This is experiment, have fun, and engage with students in ways that you never have before. And the same with, your CRM and look for segments, look for data points that you haven't explored in the past. I think that that's what we're being called to kind of do. And I think that these platforms certainly allow for institutions to do that in a more personalized way.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
very fun.
Yeah. And I love that it's fun. That's great. It's fun to talk about it too and to share the success. But I want to thank you both for joining us today. This has been really awesome conversation. I want to thank the audience and the participation. Great questions, great conversation that was happening through. I like seeing everybody's minds turn and think about ways that they can really better engage their students because at the end of the day, that's why we are all here, is to make sure that those students are engaging with you, that they're removing some barriers to accessing education. And I think we can all be in agreement around that. There are many ways to do it, and it's finding the best one for your institution and the one that fits you best. But thank you everybody for coming today. Stay tuned for the next one. There's been a plug for the ZeeMee webinars and the Element 451 webinars. Always something to learn out there. And thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.